listening to the Los Rotos podcast with Vanessa Scaduto. Produced by Upside Down Creative Media.
But keep in mind, if I hate it, I'm probably not going to publish it. All right. And I also have like a deep, heavy breath that I'll be able to hear when I'm editing.
Marshall,
sometimes I have to edit that.
We can take a few minutes for you to settle down, and then you'll breathe.
All right.
Okay, so.
You know what?
Yeah, no. You do what you got to do. I'm just saying, take your time so you're not huffing and puffing. No, because I don't want you to hate on yourself while or I'm going to just tell you to give it to me, and I'll edit it. No. Because that you're like, oh, I can't give control over.
Eventually, yeah, I will.
I think you need to let me.
It's okay. Let me take my work badge off. Just leave that there.
Special episode today. No, I'm kidding. Are we keeping all these lights on or fine, right? It doesn't matter.
Oh, no, let me turn them off.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I feel like it is glaring. That's why I wasn't sure if that was just me.
I'm going to put this in the podcast.
Okay.
Breathing is really good now.
That's what I'm saying. Take your time. Breathe it out a little bit. Wim Hof it.
What's funny is I remember when we first worked together in 2018, like, well, not the first time, but when you came back. Mm-hmm. It's when I started hitting my peak weight, and my breathing was like, you were like, oh my God, you pointed it out.
I did?
Yeah. I was like.
Oh, I'm an asshole, huh?
No, it's fine.
Okay,
it's
sorry.
Being honest.
Well, it's also
because you hadn't seen me in so long.
Worrying about your health, dude. Like,
yeah.
At our age, if you're huffing like that, that means your endurance is like not as well. You know?
It's not great, but I'm alive. So.
Especially when we were like used to play basketball and stuff all the time, and.
Yeah, I used to be like in the shape of a horse. In more than one way. No, I'm just kidding.
You're like, that's all changed now.
Yeah, it's going inside me now. As I get fatter, it's looking smaller.
Oh my God, don't get a dicky do, bro. I told you about them dicky doos.
A little mushroom down there.
Man, that's so depressing.
Yeah, it's all good.
No wonder Jen doesn't talk. No.
She loves it.
That is turning into an any belly button.
It's not that far yet, but. Okay.
All right. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Bienvenido a Los Rotos podcast. Now, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Los Rotos. I got a special treat today. I got my producer, Marshall, and figured I'd finally introduce.
I just want to interrupt real quick. This podcast is sponsored by Deer Park Water.
It's not, but it could be if you're listening, and we know that you are.
It's 100% natural spring water. It's a great brand. I drink it every day. So.
Also, Mind Bloom, still remembering, right? It was called Mind Bloom that Ted was using. Yeah. Still waiting. We would definitely accept your sponsorship. I'll even test out the ketamine for myself. But yeah, no, we got Marshall on today. We wanted to talk to you guys, kind of explaining a little bit more about this podcast. I guess we never really did an introduction.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And kind of like how we know each other, so you guys can know if you care to know. So I guess Marshall and I guess we'll start off like we've known each other a minimum of 15 years.
Yeah, 14, almost 14. 2008, right? I think it was.
I think it was around then. Ariel, my daughter, she's gonna be 20 this year, so she was probably what, like. I don't even know how old she was.
Yeah, I get confused around between 2006 and 2008.
I feel like she was about 5 or 6 or something like that when you met her. So that makes kind of sense. Yeah, 14 years then, I guess. Yeah. Oh, my God.
It's crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I knew you before you had your children. Mm. So, yeah, so we've known each other a long time. I guess we started out doing skits before either of us really knew how to handle a camera.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I was in school for this kind of stuff. Marshall's just learned and self-taught, pretty good music producer too, if you want. Yeah,
that's how I started. Am I supposed to talk now?
Yeah, okay. You can. I can just steamroll over you though.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I guess self-taught in pretty much every aspect creatively. My dad was a musician, so he always had music going on around the house. He played guitar and had his own little mini studio and stuff like that. So I was always around it and had access to little things like that, but I didn't know how to use it back then. So it wasn't until I got an actual computer like software that allowed me to make music. That's when I really got into it. And a lot of the skills that I learned in using those types of softwares is the same way you edit, essentially. It's just linear or nonlinear editing. You're copying and pasting and moving things around a timetable or whatever. So, yeah, a timeline. So, getting nervous.
Marshall, you say it like it's easy. I mean, it can be with lots of practice, but you've had lots of practice.
Yeah, it's comparative. This is, I guess, I've been doing it for 20-something years, but one of the things I struggle with when I started was like, you say you're a musician. If you go to somebody, say you're a musician in 2000 and you show them your techno beat or something, like that's not music. And that's what I heard for
your
like
Fruity Loops, bro.
Yeah,
you got
exactly.
them Fruity Loops.
Yeah. So yeah, it was before Fruity Loops. It was like Sony owns it now, but it's a software that was like, it was the first consumer software like available, or maybe the second.
Which one are you talking about? Do you remember?
It's Acid.
Oh yeah, Acid.
It was owned by Sony now, but before that,
yeah,
it was
they didn't
like
own it. Yeah,
Sonic Foundry or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I bought that, and so you're essentially just mashing up loops that somebody else created.
Right.
And so yeah, when you compare it to like real music, but then what's ironic is if you look at music in
like
2000, everything now is essentially that type of music or evolved. And I think I remember like Usher started putting like the techno, like the dance music into his mixes and stuff. And so it was just ironic to see that evolved when people were saying this isn't music, and like, yeah, it is music now.
I think is at the time, not everybody could utilize those samplings and stuff like that, but now everybody can. Like now it's and then you have even more sampling available to you that you didn't have before.
Yeah.
Like I think of GarageBand and I'm just like, wait, so I can take. It's weird because they give you packs now. Like you can download a pack.
Yeah.
But you have to read the fine print because some of them will say you can't use. So
they're not, like royalty free or whatever.
Some of them are, some of them aren't though. But that's the thing. You would have to, like, if you're not a true musician who knows that you have to worry about that stuff so you can actually make money off your music, you may make a beat and then realize, like, you can't use this copyrighted in some weird way that you didn't even realize.
I just got access to GarageBand because I've not had Apple products most of my life. And my daughter, I bought her an iPad Air or whatever.
It's fun, though.
She just pulled it out, and I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, making music. I'm like, this is insane. Like, but I think that's how my dad felt when he saw what I was doing, because, that's what he calls me about, is he'll ask me questions because I introduced him to that easy way to record music. Once you got like an interface that you can plug your real instruments in, then it's a full music studio on a computer, whereas he used to have to use like 2-track tapes and stuff like that to dub things, and it was like opening up a whole new world to him. So like when I look at that, I'm like, wow, you can't really hate on it because it's just technology changing or whatever. So
well, yeah, I mean, I'm friends with Jim Pons, who's from the Turtles, so happy to get. I'm actually friends with him, and he's I think he's in his 80s now.
Yeah.
And you're probably like, how do you know Jim Pons from Turtles? Well, he happened to be one of my friend's neighbors, and I didn't know it was him, obviously. And my friend had her wedding ceremony or whatever, that dinner after the wedding.
Yeah.
We went to his house.
Oh, nice.
But I didn't know. I went to this guy's house, and I just realized he had a lot of beautiful music equipment, like in the living room area, like where there's this piano that can play by itself. And we're in Jacksonville, Florida. So I was like, who is this guy? And I saw all these beautiful guitars, and then I saw random children running around all this. So I was like, hey, I went up to him. I knew his name was Jim. I didn't know it was Jim Pons. But I was like, hey, man, these kids are kind of running around. He's like, oh, don't worry, I put the good ones up. And I was like, the good ones? I'm looking at a Les Paul, and I'm like, what's the good one, bro? Like, and then he proceeded to tell me. And then this other older dude who was drunk, he's like, do you even know who you're talking to? Like, and I was like, Jim, I got the owner. And he's like, do you even know who the Turtles are? And I'm like, yeah, I have one of their vinyl records. What are you talking about? And he's like, no, you don't. And I was like, yeah, I do. And he goes, oh, well, I'm Jim Pons and I was like,
that's awesome.
And then we proceeded talking about recording, and I was like, dude, what do you think? He goes, oh, it's insane. He goes, yeah, we'd have 4 tracks or 8 tracks. He goes, but the fact that you guys can, record now multiple lines,
30 tracks.
Yeah, 30 tracks. It's not like he told me that when he was with the Turtles, they had one take sometimes.
Yeah.
to get that song
Yeah.
out. And I was like, oh, so you're saying you're more talented than the people now. I got it.
Yeah.
And he's right, though.
I don't argue. Yeah, I can't argue that. Yeah.
Anyways.
That's why, and to go back to what I was saying, it's like kind of something that stuck with me. So whenever I think about where I came from, it's all self-taught. But,
Yeah.
I've always kind of leaned on the side of the opposite of egocentric, where I've kind of been I guess when I think about my ego, it's like more or less listening to those negative things that other people say and believing it for a long time. But anyways, so that's kind of how it started. It got into that, and photography was always something I was into back in the day before, digital cameras were like widely accessible. So I understood like how cameras worked and had those things. And eventually when I moved here, I met Jay, who kind of introduced me to video editing. And what's funny is in the software I was using to make music, they started introducing the ability to edit video. I was like, who wants this? Like it never clicked. Like I had access to it from like probably 2003 to create videos. And I was like, why would, I guess people want to make music videos in this software? It never clicked. Because you got to think 2003, YouTube wasn't out. Like to host a video, you were watching video on like Real Player or whatever.
Yeah, it wasn't like a social media thing to be having little clicky videos.
Yeah, to share videos and I think at that time I was probably still on 56K. Like for a while I didn't get on broadband until I moved out of my parents' house. So like they were still on AOL. Yeah. Which I moved out before 2003, but yeah, I think broadband wasn't really where we lived. Yeah, if I
think about that, that's right. When you put all that, I mean, the fact that we have rapidly grown so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I got Jay that CCD camera, we were like, oh, we're, hot shit, Discovery Channel.
That was an awesome camera.
It was a great camera.
Yeah. That we didn't know how to use. But we knew the numbers meant something, but we didn't know how to make it look good.
Well, I would try to, but it was technically his camera, so I couldn't really.
Yeah.
It was a gift, you know, which I regret giving. But it was okay. No, I don't regret giving it. I'm sure it helps you guys out in whatever way or whatever. I mean, we had fun with it.
Yeah, we made some great stuff with it.
Yeah, we did make some fun stuff
for the time,
with it.
yeah.
But so Marshall and I had known each other a long time. We obviously did some skits and stuff together. I moved away for a little while, came back in 2018. At that time, you had a buddy, Rob, that you were doing stuff with, and I helped you guys on a skit.
Yeah.
And then I was like, hey, man, I can do whenever, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I didn't hear from you until 2020, 21.
Yeah.
And
maybe. I mean, I'm sure we talked. I don't know.
No, we've talked on and off, but I mean to work on stuff together.
Yeah. You hit me up.
Even though I tried multiple times after that, I think I texted you and I was like,
you?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, Marshall doesn't want to.
I'm the worst. It's not. Yeah.
I was like, Marshall doesn't want to work with me on anything.
That's not true. Yeah.
And then here we are.
You hung out more than once, so I'm pretty sure. You came back another time, right?
No, you guys just invited me to do my edibles, and then I never saw you guys.
You helped me. You helped us on another sketch though, where you were holding up the green screen, and no.
I thought that was the same sketch.
Maybe we were eating brownies, so
no, but I
feel
said
like 2
I'd
days.
help you with whatever, and you're like, yeah, I'll let you know. And I
well,
think there was
because you walked into an
supposed
ecosystem where, and to talk about Rob, you walked into an ecosystem was very. We had been doing it since 2013, where originally when I started Upside Down Creative Media, it was me and him and like 5 other people, and as things would come up. I don't really want to go into what my theories on why, but it just seemed like it was always just me and him. And so for so long it was me and him when we would try to organize things. And so we kind of there was this bond that I never thought would be broken, and ironically it did eventually. And so when you walked into that, it was that I was kind of like, we had been on a roll for so long that it worked, and we were just creating stuff that I was happy with, that pulling more people into it wasn't even you. It was, if you look back at everything we've done, I mean, we've won awards from like some of the films that we've done, and it was just literally me and him. And we're up against people that have crews of like 15 and 20 people. And so we had this like little thing for, 8-9 years or whatever it was. And I didn't want to mess it up, And I regret it now because I'm like, that's almost a decade of like pushing people out. And it wasn't even so much me at the beginning. I think he was I was getting word from other people like he doesn't want me around, and like these are things I found out afterwards, like especially the early group of people that we worked with. We were taking promo pictures and stuff of all of us as a group, and so I had this vision of like a group of people, like I didn't really know what it was going to be, but it ended up just being me and him. And I think there's multiple factors. I think for me as a producer that's doing literally everything behind the scenes, I'm just trying to make it simple. And so it seemed like whenever we pulled people in, I just always went with whatever was easiest, I guess, for me.
Okay.
And it also has to do with what I have, like a control obsession with, like controlling every aspect of things that come out for me. Because then I can look at it and say, oh, that is my voice. But then, that's why I'm here now and working with you. So. But it's not you. It's not just you. Like there's a lot of people that I've done that to, and I have tried to branch out, and some great things have come out of it when I do branch out. And I don't know how to explain it. I had this like very, if I looked at it like a relationship, if it was a male and female relationship, I don't know if I want to go into gender or not now. But, me and Rob had this very codependent thing, which was not healthy. And when I look back at it, because it stopped me from like really doing things with other people. And every time I ever did something with other people, you can look back at anything I've done. It's always been different, but also good in a different way. So like do
you think he felt like that too, maybe?
I think it was for him a sense of control too. Like he looked at me like,
did you even want to talk about this stuff? I wasn't even sure.
We're all over the place. I don't care.
All right.
From my perspective, it kind of felt like it was a mutual thing. Like he was my actor, I was his producer, kind of thing. And it was really came out of just hanging out. We were just hanging out. We started right after my daughter was born. And when you go through that, you're a new dad, and then the closeness of the baby with the mother, you kind of get edged out a little bit. Yeah. So I was looking something to fulfill that little hole, and that's where he came in and his friends and stuff like that. But it was always kind of like I said, I was trying to pull more people in, and he was more about controlling the people that were around. And I hate to say that because I don't know if that's true, but it just kind of feels like that.
It felt like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it's a long way of saying I want you around, but it wasn't. It just didn't.
But we're gonna blame Rob. Okay.
Yeah,
and not take personal responsibility. Okay. Yeah. And so no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You're probably right.
No,
I think
you are taking.
There's situations where I think there can be multiple truths.
You are. Yeah. No. I was like,
it's not one.
No, I'm kidding, guys. Obviously, you are taking some ownership because you're like, you could have changed it. You just felt this is what you guys had done for so long.
Yeah.
But then that brings me to I have some questions because I've only met Rob, once or twice, but I'm very familiar that you guys started something called Falling Together.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But I guess life imitates art in some ways.
And art imitates life.
Or art imitates, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
art
more or less the
imitates
opposite,
life, yeah. I mean...
Do you want me to talk about it?
If you want. I mean, I have some questions.
I'm trying to, so we started it in 2019, if I remember correctly. Like, I'm really bad with it. That was the first publishing?
March 24th, 2019, you posted your first minute of the start.
So it was like the trailer for it.
Yeah, and in this one, Jeremy was drunk in the bathroom. And
that was the first one? No,
that was the second one. Excuse me. Yeah. Sorry, that's episode 2.
Okay.
So the first one, though, is him. It's super short, but it's March 24th, and it seems like there's something going on with Rob. I can't believe it.
Is it him in the red shirt, and we're walking down the street, and at the end he says something like, "Get that thing out of my fucking face" or something,
but
we're on the beach.
Also the second one too. Yeah, the beach is episode 3. That's with Ross. And that's when he quit his job.
Yes.
And Ross is like, I think he's coming back because he left his sandals.
Yes, that was not scripted. That was all improv. And Ross is hilarious, even though we don't talk anymore. But
oh, really?
Yeah. That was the thing I was going to get to. Is like the other side of this whole thing with Rob is that, and I'm trying to pretend I'm just in a room with you, but if we put this out there, then I'm putting this out there. My experience was like, here's Rob and here's all his friends and I'm over here. So it's kind of like there's this bond, but I'm just kind of on the outside. And I felt like that a lot in the past. I think before, I don't want to go into it too much, but like I've always kind of had that feeling where I've kind of always been on the outside of other groups, but I blend well with everybody or whatever. And so that's why we don't talk. It's not like I don't have a problem. I don't even have a problem with Rob. Like really, it kind of sucked for a while, like all of 2020 or whenever 2021. All of last year it was like pretty. Yeah, the last 3 years they're all the same, but I've gotten over it for the most part. I don't wake up in cold sweats 3 a.m. anymore for all of 2021. Yeah, Rob. No, I'm just kidding.
Where have you been, Rob?
No, it's more yeah. What's weird about it, and I know I'm going all over the place because that's just fine. The way I go. It's one thing for somebody to ghost you and you have some kind of like idea of what you did. And that's the weird thing about this. I still don't know. And I think that's the question that I've asked for so long. At the beginning, I was like, well, maybe he doesn't want to do this anymore. He doesn't want to create anymore. But then he's on a fucking podcast like a year or a couple weeks later. He's out there putting a podcast out with some other dude. And the way I find out about it is the dude hits me up and says that, yeah, Rob's talked about you before. And he was checking out my stuff on YouTube. I was like, oh, he's on a podcast? So I guess he does want to create. And then you start thinking, well, then what the fuck did I do? Because I don't have a problem if somebody wants to part ways. Like we had talked about it before in reality, even though the whole documentary is kind of a joke, but it's also, there are some truths to what was going on. So,
but like you still thought he was your friend, like you'd still be friends with him even if you guys parted ways, or?
I think after this much time, I think it's kind of like the thing with me and Jay, like I have no hard feelings against him. We parted ways and we don't speak anymore. And I think there's reasons for that. I mean, he's going in a different direction. And I think
right, but you were aware of those reasons.
Yeah, it hurt enough and I'll admit it was like, it's hurtful. It's hurt enough on my end. It kind of feels like a death,
Yeah.
It's the way I process things because I've actually lost like 3 of my closest friends in the last, they were all really around the time I was 18. I lost 2 best friends for different reasons. And so when you go through that and you're like, trying to find new friends, but it kind of creates a whole issue with making new friends and stuff. And so now that he's gone, it's kind of like I've processed it out that way. Like I know I have no hard feelings. It just kind of felt like a death in a way. Because like somebody that's in your presence of your life, like every weekend or every other weekend, and then all of a sudden they're gone. For no reason. It's like, okay, I thought he was dead for a while. Like, honestly, I have texts where I'm like, dude, are you okay? Because I remember the last time we talked on the phone, he was having some issues. He got in an accident or something like that. And so I thought, well, what the fuck happened? So I'm probably going to edit all of that out.
So I don't want to. He never responded to you? Or?
Yeah, it was a very long time. And then I went to it was almost like a break where I'd email him and be like, hey, just checking on you, like it was like a 3-month period where I would check on him like once a month, just so I can say that I didn't drop the ball. You know what I
mean? Right. It wasn't like
I wasn't obsessively calling him or anything.
Did happen to him, and
that's how it was for me. It was like at least I'm gonna be able to walk away knowing that I at least tried to do something. Yeah.
So I think that's worse because I don't even think the creative relationship it would have sucked. Period. But like the fact that you thought of him as your friend. That's the thing, and I don't have a lot. Yeah, with me, my life, like I don't really have a lot of friends at this point because I'm a dad and all that stuff, and I really don't have the capacity. And I think it's because I've lost so many friends that I've kind of like, I can only have. I see my daughter doing this a lot. She focuses on one person, and that's the person that's her best friend. And like I did that a lot even before I lost my best friends. But I think it's very difficult. It kind of makes it exponentially like harder to deal with because you don't have other people to kind of like do those things with. So Marshall.
Oh God, we're gonna have to edit this whole thing.
I don't think we should because here's the thing. I had a couple of questions with that because I obviously know how creative you guys are, and when I watched all these things, I knew there was some truth to it, and then some exaggeration or mocking, just joking around with that stuff. But like, I know that it still probably hurts you in the fact that he couldn't just tell you straight up versus you having to find him on other things like doing comedy or stuff like that.
Yeah, he's doing stand-up comedy now, or from what I see on YouTube. I don't know if it's true anymore.
I'm a stand-up comic and I haven't seen you, Rob. So where you at, Rob? Why you ain't doing the open mics, Rob? But no, seriously, we have, what is it, Comedy Zone? Is that what it's called?
Comedy Zone, the Ramada. So like
we obviously have Comedy Zone comics who come to the open mics, but those are a handful of them, and they are our buzz because they come so much. But there is definitely a separation. So if he went and took that comedy class and he's doing Comedy Zone comedy,
he's been on stage. I've seen him on stage. Like I've seen clips of him doing that venue, but I don't know how often. So.
Yeah, I know. I saw them. Okay. I think I saw them when you mentioned it to me. I went and looked, but it's just as a comic, we as other comics, we want to know like who's doing what or whatever.
Sure.
And I went and looked, and I was like, he had. It seemed like he had a decent set, there.
It's funny.
But it was months ago. It was like
Yeah, I don't know when the real date was of any of it, but yeah. I don't know
I'm
if
pretty
he's
sure it
actively
was
doing
like in winter or something
Sure.
like that. So who's to say maybe he took a class, went up there a couple times, but didn't return?
Yeah, and I don't know if we're jumping around, but back to the documentary. What's ironic about it is that if you follow the story, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead of your questions, but he eventually mentions he wants to be a stand-up comedian, which was all a joke. But
yeah, well, that I thought it was funny. First, the rapper thing.
Yeah.
Then he mentions, and not everything online was as consecutive. I think in your Instagram you had more stuff of it.
yeah, we tried to fill. So we were doing this thing where we would put stuff on YouTube because we're trying to spread it out. I guess I don't know. There was really no strategy to it. It was just like, oh, this is a clip I'm going to put on Instagram right now. You know, we were just kind of like, we had more audience on Instagram, so we tried to keep everything on there to match it up. I think most of it is on there, but we were trying to create like an ecosystem of content, if that makes sense, to kind of back up the story. So we were trying to, like with the rapper thing, it was like, okay, we're actually going to make like some songs, and we made like 5 decently produced songs, and then eventually a follow-up that he was supposed to come out with like whole 12 songs.
I feel like that's so great. Like I would love for us to make just a comedy album where I sing random bullshit, because that, like the stuff that I showed you that me and my brother and sister
do it.
That's what it is. Like,
yeah.
You know, your mama, your daddy, your sister's a hoe. Anyway, that's the
Do you
song
remember
coming out soon,
the rap song that I did with Jay and the Sam? It was called Tummy Treats. Do you remember that one?
Who's Sam?
Sam was one of the guys that worked with us.
Oh my God!
The emo
yes,
guy. Yeah.
I forgot.
He was
about
the writer.
Sam.
He wrote it, and I produced it. And
oh my God!
And we recorded it with a rock band mic, because I wanted. Well, I didn't have access to mics back then, but.
That instead of hair, all I had was whipped cream. Oh, when I took a dump, it smelled like chocolate. I was so full of sugar, I take off like a rocket. Nowadays, people think they're my doctor. Try to take my treats and put them in their fucking locker. But I say to them, give me a break. Get your hands off my chocolate cup. Yo, I got these tummy treats up inside of me. No, I will not stop till I got diabetes on speedies on second thought. I'll just see sugar free. Oh jeez, that's less calories. You can find me on the block hustling pop rocks. I got the bling, every finger's got a ring pop. Straight running shit, chewing on big league. So give me tummy treats, yeah, that's all I really need.
Yeah, that was the first rap song I ever produced. Actually, no, that's not true. There were some guys in Tennessee that were really good. They were called Spring Street Slangas, and they were all white dudes, but they were really, really good. It was before Lonely Island too, and they got big in Murfreesboro and like Central Tennessee. They were doing like real shows and stuff back then, like 2003 or 2004. So I produced a couple things with them.
With that pistol, bitch. Hey, yo, I swear to beware. That be my witness, bitch. Wanna know why I'm sad? Wanna know why I'm mad? Wanna know why I won't die after that night I had? Wanna know what it's like? Close your eyes and visualize. I spin my tail, it won't fail to help you realize. Saw her on a Friday night, face and body looking tight. Peep them titties, drop pity, and now we out of sight. Rolled up to Spotswood, takes a suit that's tight. I took her inside to pop that pussy right. Now I got this bitch in bed, doing work and giving head. I'm thinking, God, this bitch hot, but I found out instead. Put my hand up her skirt, fucking shit surprise. Just a handful of dick all up between the thighs. Tranny bitch, but she ain't nothing but a tranny bitch. Yeah. Tranny bitch, but she ain't nothing but a tranny bitch. Got a big old dick between them thighs. Got them slingers on your mind.
Jump at the cut with our breath all stinking. Them weak ass bitches, we know that they thinking. The slingers be flogging, they shrill as a bird. They fucking white boys, bitch, haven't you heard? We got that T-Rex rap, that velociraptor puff. If you don't watch it, bitch, we gonna let it flow. All over your face, that's called the money shot. Oh, say my name and come suck my cock. Call me sleepy time, I'll fucking break your spine. You wanna ride a bus, guys, better be fine. Big round and brown, then hook and hold a pound of premium dick. So fucking hit the ground. In the VIP, they call me Johnny Quick. Now for my running speed, but for the speed of my dick to get between them knees and in your butt. Now my dick be stinking, come ride that bus.
Come on now, girl, you know you want to. Turn it out one time. Bring it back to the front. And got them slingers on your mind. You ain't halfway there, yo. Now bring it home one time. Come on now, girl, you know you want to. Got them slingers on your mind.
But I love doing rap mixes.
So here's an idea I just had, because we could probably do this. We create our own Los Rotos album.
Okay.
We can do every genre of music. We even throw some EDM in there.
Yeah.
We can throw in. That's really easy and fun to make that
Sure.
music.
Yeah.
We can make some house pop music, some electronica. We can even throw a country music song in there, because I can do that little twang if I have to. Dude, a fucking rap song for sure. Like, I want to do something that isn't reminiscence of ODB, Re-Enter 36 Chambers in particular. That's our album right there.
Okay, let's do it. I'm down.
No, I really thought about this. Like, the name Los Rotos is, I can use it in everything. Even if I do want to open that comedy club I told you, and I could even call it that, Los Rotos. Like, I feel like it's catchy. Everybody like, we're going to Los Rotos.
Yeah.
Or, you going to see Los Rotos?
Yeah.
Or, I don't know.
Yeah, I love the title because it's like you said, there's nothing out there like it. When you search, it's starting to come up in search now, like Google and stuff, because there's no other podcasts out there. Whereas every podcast I've literally ever created, we'll just sit there and say, all right, we're going to record a podcast. We're going to call it this. And we don't do any research. And then we put it out and we're like, oh, fuck, there's already another comedy podcast. Or, like I've done that. But with this, it was like golden because there's no other podcast.
I did the research long time ago, by the way, because I liked the name and I was going to actually buy the domain or whatever. I was looking to see if the domain was bought.
I have it now, but you can have it eventually.
No.
I just bought it to get it so we can use it.
Yeah, no, it was something different though. I wanted, either way, I was trying to create a WordPress. I was actually coming up with something just pretending.
Yeah.
For my designer stuff, my
Sure.
UX UI design. And then I was like, I kind of want to save it. I don't want to use this, but I did enough research to know that it doesn't exist and that I could utilize it if I wanted to. So that's why I've always had it in the pocket. I was just like, when am I going to be able to utilize it?
Great.
But I did do the research beforehand. I think I even looked to see if it was trademarked. So I was thinking about trademarking it.
Okay.
I don't know. We didn't
Go
talk
for it.
about that.
I don't care. Go.
But
Yeah,
I think we should.
It's your
in a way.
name. Do it.
Also, I forgot to tell you, my friends in Miami, they have a screen printing thing. I guess I keep forgetting to tell you all these things, so it's good that we got
tell me on the
minutes.
podcast.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. They said they can print shirts for us. I would pay for it, at cost or whatever for them. They would probably give me a good deal because they own the company.
Sure.
But I want it to look like more rudimentary. Like, I can't explain it. Like, they're telling me they could print this now. They have a new system. But I want it to actually be like screen print. I don't know if their printing is going to, with a digital printer.
Show me what you're talking about, because I might be able to help. I used to actually have a merch store on my Upside Down Creative Media where I didn't have to, I paid no capital on it. It was all.
I know how to do that. But my friends are actually print.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I would much rather do it that way because
they're not doing Printful stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Printful is a bad idea.
Yeah,
I had to close my shop down because.
No, this is them literally.
This is my Printful review. I'll give it in a minute.
Yeah, they are literally in there and they're smushing the paint and stuff, which I like. I don't want it to be perfect. I actually kind of want that imperfection look.
Yeah.
But we would obviously have to narrow down our.
Just get rid of the background, right?
That's what I would assume.
Yeah. I can do that. It's all layers. Everything's layers.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, yeah, I would assume, like, we could get rid of just the background. But he was telling me now they went and bought the program because there's a lot more people that do want more intricate stuff like this. But I was like, well, even if you can't, I don't care about the space. But if they could put the dinosaur in our name, that would be cool. Like, even if it's just little here, like maybe just the dinosaur and the logo on the left side and then just Los Rotos on the back or something. Just me and you would have that shirt. I don't know if I could afford it on all the shirts. I don't know what the cost is, but I want to wear a shirt on stage that has it and cut it,
Really? Like a uniform?
Yeah, I do.
That's cool.
I want it to be like my brand. Like, I love Los Rotos. I love the name. I'm actually very proud of it. And I'm proud of us finally doing this stuff.
Yeah,
so
I'm glad to be doing it.
I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of in that sense. It's weird because I feel like me and you, we're excited about this, but we're also less excited than other people in the sense like we're aware that this could.
I've done it so many. We've
Yeah.
done things for when you do it for so long, and it's like, it's not all. It's fun. Like I can't live without it.
Right.
Creating. I'm like I don't want to get into details, but I pay to do this essentially.
Right.
And it's fun. Like I can't live without it. And it's what's funny is like I go back to Rob when I started doing this. I kind of look at my whole, like I was creating before I met Rob, I had my own YouTube channels and stuff with stuff that I was doing with Jay and you.
Right.
But I'm drawing a blank. I'll have to edit this. I'm trying to
That's
think. My
okay.
point, there's a point I'm trying to make. Because we're talking about how jaded we are, a little bit jaded.
Well, we're excited, but we're not like.
I kind of set myself up with an addiction is what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
It's like, so when I mentioned earlier, when I became a father, I started having these feelings of like detachment from the mother of my children, Jen. Hi, Jen. She'll probably not watch this, but she's never online. But so that kind of natural like detachment that happens when you become a new father and you're trying to figure out your role in the whole relationship because the mother and the baby are so close.
Right.
I started pouring myself,
yeah.
like all of that, and I look at everything in the world as energy, and so I had this huge amount of energy and this void that needed to be filled, and so that's where Rob came into it, and we literally, like, it felt like there were pockets of time where we didn't create, like a few months at a time. He would just disappear. This happened actually the second year we started doing. I didn't see him for like 3 months and had no clue what was going on, but I was also busy as a new dad, so it didn't really matter. But we kind of started outside of those times, we were creating like every weekend, like doing something to contribute to Upside Down Creative Media. And that's why I can't stop. Like, because of that, it created this, it's like, I guess whatever I was trying to fulfill back then, I should have probably dealt with that. I mean, I looked at it as a healthy way. I'm not like drinking and
I
I'm not.
think so though, Marsha. I think it's actually normal to want to create.
But you don't understand. Like if I go a long time without doing anything, like I was really depressed last year because all I was creating were like remixes of like preachers and all.
By the way, they're great though.
Thank
I've
you.
gone through them. I've shown Chance, and Chance is like, "That's hilarious."
Those
like,
things, those are what kind of carried my
I showed
channel.
my sister, and she's like, "Oh, that's hilarious!" Like it was just funny.
Did like 20 of them and started in 2020. The first one I did was, you remember the lady in Memphis? The reason I know about this is because I'm from Memphis. There was the woman that had the garbage bags all over, like she covered her feet in garbage bags and on her head, and she's like, two garbage, like I have to show you. That was the first one I did.
You'll have to show me.
There was a mad mother, and there's a man spraying his son outside the school with like Lysol and stuff. Like this was all happening at the very beginning of the pandemic, all in Memphis. And there's news footage, and I created my first remix, like news. I called them. I don't know what I called them, but it was the first one, and it kind of got some traction. Then I eventually found a clip of Cardi B talking about coronavirus and mixed that into another version. But the gold came with like the Kenneth Copeland "Wind of God," where he's like spitting into the camera.
Yeah, dude.
Like as soon as I saw that, I remember my boss at my old TV job was like, "This is going to be a meme." I was like, "Yes, it is." And I went home that day and started figuring out how I could use it. And I'd done the one remix where I turned it into music. Unfortunately, mine came out like 2 days after some other channel that had done a really good job with it, and they became because they were kind of like the same amount of followings, but theirs ended up getting millions, where mine got like 100, and like there was a big market for that, and it kind of came out of the pandemic, I think, because there were other channels that have done it before.
That brings me back to what I wanted to talk to you about, because on the last, and I call them episodes, they're not really episodes.
Yeah, we called them episodes at the time too.
Yeah, but the last one, just during the pandemic, at least that is on YouTube. Not, I think maybe on Instagram you have more.
Maybe one more, yeah.
But it involved Melissa Villaseñor.
That wasn't the last one, but I know it went.
Yeah, and I believe it was "Seals the Deal" is the title of this video. Melissa seals the deal.
Yes.
And ironically, this was again March 2020. This video came out.
Sure.
From her.
Mm-hmm.
But ironically, you guys created a video called "Sincerely
It was a
Kevin,"
short film, yeah.
Which came out in 2015, which is almost identical to the same skit that SNL
the premise
did.
the premise is the same.
Yeah, we would call that in the joke world stealing.
Yeah, it was a little bit of.
But again, if it's a premise, like I know that you can kind of maneuver around it. And
the premise is of "Sincerely Kevin" was that it's a short film shot very dramatically, cinematically, where a man falls in love with or has a relationship with an invisible woman. So it's long and drawn out. So that's the premise. So it's just a bunch of romantic scenes of them holding hands, and then there's a breakup, and it's like a whole cycle of a relationship in a 10-minute film. I don't remember how long it is. So that is the premise. That's the joke. If you take that away, none of it's funny. It's a serious film, like about love. Their sketch was basically a date. So it was a shorter timeline, but it's a man and a woman on a date. So you take that away, it's just a date, right? You just So my argument was like, the premise is the only thing that makes any of this funny. If you take that away, there's no jokes. All the other jokes are, I mean, maybe the farting part where they farted. I think there was a fart joke in their sketch. That's always going to be funny.
Right.
But everything else, it's just a recording of a date, right? So yeah, it's kind of the same thing. And we'd had other instances of things happen, which I don't want to go into it too much, but I'm not trying to say SNL is copying off of us.
I'm sure it's not SNL itself.
There were about
it's
5.
a writer probably
there's
finding
a young
random
writer.
videos and says, let's take this idea and make it this way or whatever.
Well, so around the time when we started seeing all these coincidences, like it was like a lot of things that were lining up. I was putting out content, and then I started finding all of the people that were involved in, thank God with the internet, you could find out who wrote the sketch on SNL. Mm-hmm. So I started looking up their socials, and there was one particular writer, I'm not going to say who it is, but a lot of the posts that I would make on my Instagram, like I did the Kenneth Copeland Wind of God thing. I shared that on my Instagram. 2 days later, he did some kind of like meme with the same thing. And it could be the fact that it's all in that timeline and everybody's making memes about that particular thing. Mm-hmm. But it's also ironic that he's the writer of the sketch that, or he or she, I don't want to out anybody, but they're the writer.
He's the writer.
I don't know what he identifies or they identify as, but
okay. That's true too.
So it just, his whole timeline kind of, like there were things that were like lining up. I was like, this might be the guy, and he might be watching us, and like in a way, still can't prove it, but yeah. But the thing is I've met a lot of people that have shown me, even some local comedians that do other stuff like similar to mine, that have shown me like sketches that are ripping off completely, and that's going back 10, 15 years. Like some of the stuff that my friends.
I would think that they do that.
They don't get paid that much, like,
and
they're living in New York,
most
so they're
of them
they're
are
just
probably
trying
doing it too to even build up their career even more and move on to something else, because I'm sure working on SNL is fucking hard.
I work in TV, so and local TV, but there's amount of pressure that and when it's your lifeline, you're just trying to survive, and they're probably going through that, and they're just like, these people are making stuff out there, and it doesn't make a difference if, like, they're doing it in an environment.
They say that, but if they actually gave you guys credit, it would make a huge difference in your life, because then you would get the writing jobs. You wouldn't have to be, handing for free your ideas to somebody who's getting paid.
But that's just
definitely more than you're getting paid, because they live in New York, and because it's for
it costs more to live
a network, TV station. So yeah, but you know what I'm saying. I'm not. So if you steal anything from us, I'm going to come for your fucking ass.
And if you want to sponsor us,
and this will never be on air, but I'm still going to come for your fucking ass.
No, it's all going. I'm not editing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but like.
Well, I was just wondering if that was like part of the last straw, where like even though art can imitate life, but it really was like, what are we working for when people like SNL can just take an idea that
the only thing that was
we
true,
can't prove it, but it felt like it
in that episode. The only thing that was true, and there's some truth to. Obviously, we don't know the truth whether or not they copied us, but the truth is. There's the part in that scene which is ridiculous where I throw the tripod at him. I actually was trying to motivate him to do more.
Right.
And I bought a tripod for him for like $25, had a Bluetooth thing that he could put his cell phone on. And in the time that he had that, he only created one thing, and it was probably one of the worst things that we ever put out there. It was another SNL like trial video. Like he did it like. We did a series of these like where he would do really bad impressions on purpose. And he recorded one, and it was like, out of all of them, it was my least favorite, because he felt I kind of sensed at that point like he was kind of withdrawing from the whole project, and so there's some truth there. Like I didn't really, if obviously I throw the tripod on him and then I keep the camera rolling and I walk out the door and shut the door and film it, we're not really fighting.
I just
in that
noticed
moment,
like by that time he looked very thin.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I was like, I
never
didn't know if
noticed
he
it
was,
then, but
I was like, Is he really drinking and doing drugs? Because I know in some of them, like
there's some episodes I don't think you saw where we were pretending to have him use coke, and it was actually flour. And I'll probably show it if I edit it. But then we showed the flour bag, and obviously it's stupid. But I don't know. I can't speculate on that because I don't know. He did lose weight, and I don't really know. I mean, he's looking fine now from what I can see, but
I guess I don't know.
I think he was going through a lot,
it
breakup
and
everything.
Too,
All of that was
also.
real. Like we were both I've always kind of dealt with mental health issues since I was 12. So I've kind of lived with it, and they're diagnosed but not treated. So most people say they're undiagnosed and untreated, but for me, I actually have been told I have depression and stuff from a very young age. But I've learned to cope with those things in my own way.
Have you though?
No, I mean, I'm still alive. I haven't killed myself, so it's not that bad.
Having children is not a way of coping, because I know that's why
they are the most important thing to me. Obviously, that's what I see every day.
Right.
But no, I mean, I'm happy for the most part. It's just comes in spurts. But I think when I was talking about is
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm just acknowledging what everybody else is literally going through every day. So that's why I'm saying I don't really think it's full blown depression, where I think some people are probably always depressed. I get like that every once in a while and just get through it and say, okay, this is going to suck for the next 3 days to 2 weeks or whatever. It's
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually in a pretty good space. I'm stressed and worried about stuff, but I haven't had, like you said, that severe depression in a while now.
I get it every once in a while, but it's like I said, I'm almost 40 and I've dealt with it since I was 12, and it's just something I've learned to deal with.
I know.
But back to Rob, though, I think he was kind of, and this is where I think my shortfall is in relationships, is that I think I'm slightly autistic. That's undiagnosed, but I do think I have a little bit, because I'm not really good with listening to, I've been told many times that I always talk about myself when I'm with other people, and so I'm more aware of it now. I'm very hyper aware of my own things, but I think maybe I'm only assuming because he won't talk to me, but I'm thinking that maybe there's a shortfall there where he felt like I wasn't supportive of his issues and didn't take his issues serious, because a lot of even the documentary was kind of poking fun at the fact that he's quitting his job and his it's kind of using that his tragedy.
Did he really quit his job and everything?
Yeah, he quit his job. Yeah. Everything was true about that. He quit his job and went back to working at Carrabba's or something like that, which we talked about.
Oh, where was he working at?
He had a logistics job or something like that.
So he was getting paid decent money there?
Decent, yeah, but he wasn't happy.
He was miserable, like I
we
was
both
at the
quit.
bank.
I had a job that was making over 6 figures, and I wanted to kill myself. Literally had a thought I want to jump out of this window right now, because it's not because, and it wasn't because it wasn't so much the stress. There was a massive amount of stress. But it was the fact that I, for 10 years, have been I'm trying to get to this level of income, and I made it, and I was like, fuck, I'm not happy. And you get to that point, you think money's going to do it, and it doesn't. So that was I was going through that at the same time in 2018 that he was going through all of the stuff that we started eventually filming, I think, in 2019.
Right.
And so it was the perfect, we called it falling together, because we both felt so from the time of meeting each other, Upside Down Creative Media came out of the fact that we thought everything in the world was upside down, and so it kind of was the narrative throughout the whole thing. We were trying to do things differently, and then Falling Together came, and it was titled that because we felt like our lives were falling apart. We were still keeping it together, though, so that's kind of the whole wordplay thing.
I actually think it's perfect in some ways, because you still, even though you aren't together anymore, you did fall together, in a way. But I also think maybe this was a new beginning. Unfortunately, the pandemic actually, most people said, switched it up for you guys and stopped that repetition of what you guys were doing, because obviously you both weren't happy.
We were trying to do stuff online. We got pretty successful with getting some pretty big guests on our online show, because if you reached out to people.
That was another thing. Yeah, I didn't understand why you guys didn't continue that either.
I'm trying to remember. We wanted to take a break, so we did 12 episodes. Our last guest was Sandy Danto, who's a pretty big stand-up comedian.
I saw that one. Yeah,
it was the last. He's always been really nice.
I like Sandy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really funny. So he did the last show, and then we had lined up a whole bunch of new guests. I think partially because we were seeing. I did another live show after that, with TK, which is Thomas Kellogg. Shout out to TK. I did a live show that was similar to them. That for some reason, like it just never took off. I don't really know why we stopped. I think we were trying to take a break, and there was also a lot of politics. We were trying to as a producer, I was trying to keep it middle of the road, and it felt like it was going too far to the right. Ross and Rob were very were kind of putting out to me it felt offensive, like some of the jokes. So there's like some behind the scenes I don't want to put that out there. If this is live, let's
What were they saying?
I don't remember the exact jokes.
But it was
yeah, it's hard to explain. I can't remember the exact jokes, but I think there was some butting heads, and it was starting to feel like maybe for them that maybe it wasn't fun anymore. I don't know, because I was censoring too much.
Kind of cruel or something.
We were doing some pretty good stuff because it was all live, and we would do live sketches. I figured out how to do Snapchat filters, and I would become the devil, and talk. And then one of the first interviews that we did was with COVID, and I looked like a demon or whatever. But we did all of that shit live, which was really epic, in my opinion. But when we were doing that stuff, it was fun. But I just felt like some of the content was just getting too political. And if you remember 2020, it was very. I didn't want to say anything because I've had issues with publishing anything political since 2016 because I became aware of my whiteness in 2016. I'd never been aware of what it meant to be a white man. I don't know how far I want to go down this, but that was the first time anybody on Twitter had ever said, "Shut up, white boy." And I was like, you can't talk about this. I was like, what? I'm just trying to help the conversation, and I got my ass chewed out, and I was like, I'm getting off fucking Twitter. That was 2016. Right. I don't even remember what it was about, but I just remember thinking, it was probably a bot when I look back at it. It was probably not even a real person, but I was like, this feels like a real person. Okay, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't say anything because I don't even remember what I said, but I wasn't being offensive. I was more or less just trying to, because I'm a very middle of the road person and not racist at all.
I think the problem is people don't always know the context, and that's the problem with social media. You're just getting a sentence or two response to somebody that. It's not it's just there's nothing there. There's no deep layers of anything. You don't know this person. It's like Scott Watley and I, we don't, and you and I, we don't always see eye to eye on some issues, but there's never an argument. There's
a conversation.
And then we just laugh it off and I go, well, you're not going to agree with me and I'm not going to agree with you. That's it. That's fine. That doesn't discount you as a person or a human. Or I think the problem is we start shunning people and canceling, and we're throwing them in groups that we don't really know if they actually belong in.
I think those moments are when, as a human, you realize it's frustrating. As a human, we all want to see zeros and ones. It's because we want it to make sense, and so we want our truth to be truth. But the fact is, and the frustrating thing about life is that there is possibly multiple truths,
right?
And that's fucking insane. That makes you want to blow your brains,
right?
Because it doesn't make sense.
Simulation, and I think when you get, guys, been talking about it.
If you can see, but if you can see in those moments where you start getting heated in the conversations, I think the type of people that can see that, okay, maybe we're both saying the truth,
right? And
this doesn't make sense. It should make sense. I think a lot of people have a hard time seeing that, and that's where these arguments come from. It's these things that are not productive, almost everything that I believe now, when I was 20, I didn't believe.
Right.
I was very left wing. I didn't even really know what I was, but I remember the first time anybody ever talked to me about voting. I was talking about voting for Kerry in what was that, 2001? Kerry and Bush? Was it Kerry and Bush?
John Kerry?
John Kerry, yeah.
I can't remember.
I think it was 2001 because eventually Bush won or whatever, but it was John Kerry and Bush. And I was talking to my coworker.
That was Gore, though. I thought Gore ran with him.
I don't remember. It may have been. No, it had to be. Maybe it was 2004.
Yeah, 2004 was Kerry because I was going to say my first the ability to be able to vote, which I didn't register in time, was that Bush and Gore.
It was Kerry, and that was later.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I had a political conversation with anybody that wasn't my family, because my family was always Democrats, their whole lives. And so, because when you look back at Democrats and it was different. Things have changed over time.
All the time, yeah. Every.
But the coworker said, I told him, he asked who I was voting for, and I was like, I'm going to vote for Kerry, of course. I don't want Bush, And I don't remember why I thought that. I have no idea. I have no I didn't even know what he stood for. Like, I just said I thought he was the better person. And it was the first time that I started looking into politics and started like looking at people's backgrounds and like where they came from and really trying to figure out who these people were. And since then, I've never voted. I've my whole life never voted. So I think I started very early on, like questioning all of it, because I think I discovered Alex Jones back then and stuff.
Yeah,
and started
Alex.
like the Bohemian Grove. Not that I ever bought into any of the stuff that like. I always question him too. It's like I question everything.
Yeah.
And it really made me it really made me hard to choose sides on any given thing, I mean, which is why what I was saying, like my whole philosophy on things is that there may be multiple truths, and that sucks.
It's
because
true, right? It's
yeah,
about your
it can drive you crazy.
too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, people have different perceptions of their reality and what that actually means. It's like back in the day, if you had told me you wouldn't vote, I would have been like, you're wasting your vote. You should be proud that you have this ability. And of course, yeah, we're lucky we live in a country where that we can vote, but does it really count? No. I don't know. You know, I'm sorry, guys, I don't think it does, but that's me now. In the past, I would have been like, you have no right to say anything if you don't vote. No, actually, you do have a right. It's just, you know, my thought as I get older, my eyes have opened up a little bit more. I see the reality of things. Like, do I still vote? Yeah, I do personally. I still vote.
Yeah.
Did I vote for anybody who were the top candidates in this past election? No, I did not, and I don't give a fuck.
I think voting does help, but I think
I voted third party. I don't want to be part of this actual system in the way that they have now created it. It wasn't meant for this way, but they've created it this way.
I think when you think about voting, I think where people go wrong is the amount of power they give a single vote. When somebody does say that, because I understand like how frustrating that can be, but if you realize like there are other actions that you can take that are more effective than a vote that can change the world, you know what I mean? And that comes with like looking at yourself and how you treat other people. Yeah, like that should be
where
number
your money
one.
Goes.
That's more powerful than like changing the way you view yourself or you know,
it's how you interact in the world.
That's
I think
way more important than a vote, and that's kind of how I always looked at. I guess I used to, when I was younger, I used to care about big picture things, but the reality is I'm only going to be here for like 70, 80 years. Like a lot of those things I can't really impact. I can only impact incrementally, and I'll do what I can. But what's more important is like what's right in front of me. If that makes sense. Like,
no, it makes sense.
And I know that instead of having a wide open view, I've kind of done the opposite over my life, like where it's kind of shrunken. But that's because I have to, as you have kids and everything like that. And I think some people look at that as selfish, and maybe it is. But I'm not.
It's also survival, though.
It's what it is for me. Right. It is purely survival because I only have so much. Like I was saying earlier,
I mean, the people who have the energy, the people who have the energy to go to every protest and do. God bless you. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. Like, I believe in the right to protest. I also believe in the right to bear arms. Like, I've changed my stance on that too. I used to think that we didn't need weapons in this country, but I also didn't believe our government was as bad as it is. I mean, I've always thought they were really conniving and deceiving, but I didn't know how bad they were to our own people. And then I was like, what do you mean? Like,
once you realize that, it changes everything.
Well, my thing is like,
it's not even our government, it's all governments.
Yeah, I mean, but the fact that America can't hide it anymore, how bad they are now.
They're hiding it still. That's the thing.
I don't think they're hiding it as good as they should.
I think that there's a small minority of people that see it the way we do, and then there's a small minority of people that see it but don't really care for it to change. We're talking in that group 10%, and then 90% of people don't see any of it. I think there's I think there's a lot of NPCs.
I feel like there's way more people waking up. Like, they're aware. It's in their peripheral. It's almost like they see the shadow people. But they don't want to acknowledge it because then that would disrupt their actual survival mode, which is what we're kind of talking about. Like, we're aware of that dark side. Like, let's say we're mediums, right? We can see through the bullshit, but we too don't address it in the sense like I told, you overheard this, but who knows what if and when this will come up. But when I was talking to Scott about that guy who wanted to talk about Ukraine and Russia, like, he just wants to be that NPC repeating stuff, where I was just like, I didn't think we were going to argue. I just thought we were talking about ideas. But like immediately when he got so emotional, I was like, you're on a different algorithm. I'm not on that algorithm. Like, I'm not going to participate in an argument about something we cannot do nothing about. Yeah. At least in this moment. Sure. I can't do anything except say, it sucks for the Ukrainian people, sucks for the Russians. Guess what? It sucks for every civilian whose country is involved in this mess, period, because we have no choice in it.
Yeah.
If the people had a choice in it, guess what? There would be no war.
I started immediately.
It'd be no war, period.
My first thing, whenever I hear about, so I knew about, like, obviously I work in news, so I knew about the war and all that. But I have a really good ability, even though I work in the news, at ignoring the headlines. Somehow I get away with it because I work in the promotions. So unless I'm promoting a story, I don't really have to know what's going on, which is probably not good to admit. I'm going to probably edit that part out. But there's going to be a lot of editing in this.
Yeah,
yeah, just for the sake of my job. But I've been really good. What I tend to do is, like, I see the trends and what everybody's talking about. And I actually I've always been kind of aware of, like, these trends. But it really feels like it became like a very, very strong, my biggest fear, I guess, it was my awareness when COVID happened, where my biggest fear was not so much, I don't want to get COVID and die, was, oh my God, everybody in the world is talking about the same thing and thinking about the same thing, and we can't change what we're thinking about.
Right.
It was this awareness, like, oh, our thoughts are being controlled, essentially.
Yeah.
That sounds crazy, but if you really think about it, that's what has been going on since that happened. It was like this. It was like something.
The Great Reset.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like there's another mass. My uncle Robert Malone, the inventor of. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, I wouldn't be surprised
I think
with your whiteness. No,
yeah, I don't know if he coined this or not, but it was the mass formation psychosis.
Yeah,
that's
mass
what
formation.
I was aware of that, and I think I don't know if he coined that term or not, but that's what it felt like. It was like a switch went off, and everybody was thinking about that.
I don't think he coined it.
My whole purpose from that point forward was like, I'm not going, even though I've worked in the news at the time, I was creating graphics about how many deaths every day. Like, part of my job was like push out social media graphics about how many deaths have occurred. Like, I was having to deal with this shit every day at work, but then try to block it out like every day. It was just like, literally, I remember going to work 3 weeks into the pandemic, like, are we still talking about the COVID thing? Is that the main story today? You know, like, and that
now 2 years later,
you're not only dealing with it from the inside of the news, but you're also dealing with it, like, the reality that it's literally like all anybody's thinking about. That was my biggest fear. And so I've kind of had to adapt because I work inside the news and I'm a person in the world like everyone else. I have to find an escape. So
are they still going to make you wear masks at your job?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm
still doing it. Yeah, I normally do.
Because here's what I'm going to tell you right now. My job.
We have to edit all this out.
Yeah, we're going to have to.
Yeah.
On Monday, we don't have to wear masks.
So
the fact that food workers, you need to bring this up to them. How come food workers who work hand in hand and whatever don't have to wear masks in a major billion-dollar corporation?
It comes down to vaccination, though, I think, right? Or is it anybody?
Oh,
wow.
I'm not. I don't have to. So
wow, that's amazing.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know. Their policies are constantly changing.
They know I'm not vaccinated there.
I have to test every day or every week.
I don't have to
if
test
I go
shit, and I'm not going to test with my.
Just different policies. I mean,
they want to test, they can pay for it. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't really want to go into all of that. Well, I'm not even going to go because we can talk about this.
Oh, we're going to cut this out though, right?
Yeah,
I just wanted to bring it up before I forgot because I wanted to let you know.
If I ever get fired, maybe we'll release the full cut. But yeah, no, but yeah, it's pretty crazy. I don't know where
we were at an hour though, but I mean, I didn't know what else you wanted to talk about. We were talking about the reality of things.
Paranormal.
I was gonna ask you about paranormal stuff. Like, have you had any like crazy experiences?
Oh yeah. Have you ever watched any of my YouTube videos on my personal channel? One of the biggest videos I've ever done was talking about paranormal experiences, sleep paralysis.
Okay. I've been actually, which is really weird, this week I've been watching a bunch of shit about sleep paralysis.
My video might pop up. I have one that's probably got...
Not on YouTube, though.
Oh,
These are other documentaries, but...
Yeah.
I just find it funny. I think you have mentioned to me before, but I never got to watch it, but I'll go look at it.
I remember telling you guys about it.
Yeah, that's right. You told me you got a lot of hits on that
yeah,
one.
CJ, the one after CJ, because he was asking me, he was wanting me to talk about it, and we were out in the parking lot, and I was kind of rude. I was like, I have a YouTube video.
Yeah.
I think I was sick. That's when I actually had COVID.
Yeah, you were feeling good.
I was like, dude, I got to go.
Guess what? I didn't get it.
Yeah, I had it. It was a fucking nightmare, but for 3 days. But yeah, so...
I even hugged you and everything, did
yeah, and you stayed. That's crazy. Yeah.
I told you, man, I'm around around people who get.
I'm unvaccinated.
Well, they're vaccinated and get sick with COVID. Hug me, share.
They're super spreaders. Remember
share
that?
something with me.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It may be true. I don't know.
And I'm fine though. Is what I'm saying.
No, so I can go into it a little bit. But
Yeah.
I haven't had it, so I still get it occasionally. But as I think some people will, because there's multiple videos on my YouTube channel where I talk about it. So I have conversations with people. I mean, it's amazing. Like, I don't know how many comments, but thousands of comments of people telling me about their experiences. But I basically just outline my life of that, those experiences. So I don't really want to talk about it here. You can watch the YouTube video, but
I'll link down below.
I'll tell you, it started when I was younger. Around the same time I was diagnosed with depression and got on, I don't know if I was on medication then. I don't think I was. I was too young to get on medication, but I was having these experiences at night, maybe even younger. I think they were like when I was like 5, I would have night terrors, and it was crazy. I see my kids, my son has them and stuff too. He doesn't have them now, but he still wakes up every night and comes and gets in bed with us. He's like 6. But I was waking up screaming in the middle of the night, and my parents would come running in, and like that was like a memory for a long time. I think that also has to do with trauma that I was dealing with, like from my childhood, where my parents like were splitting up in a lot, and we were moving constantly and stuff like that. So it may have been that as well. But as I got older, the experiences evolved, and I started like having out-of-body experiences and stuff like that, and they pretty much stuck with me. I don't know if it was every night, but like very, very insane dreams that I can't even explain. Like I've wanted to do something about dreams for a really long time because of my dreams. Like I write them down a lot of times, and I have a notebook where I have like all of the really vivid dreams that I can remember because they're just bizarre.
I'm so curious to see if in those notebooks you have a recall of a hallway with doors in it or windows, or the doors have windows to them, like where you could look in to see what's inside the door.
No, mine are very outlandish. Like a lot of the dreams that I write down are very. You want to hear one of them?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say because I used to dream.
I know we were talking
I used to
about
dream like that, where I could open
but
a door and I knew I was going into a different realm or dimension or reality.
No, mine are very absurd. Like they don't even, the timelines don't even make sense. They're just like, it's if you were just to take a bunch of video and just dump random stuff into it and chop it up and make that a movie. That's how my dreams are. Yeah, I mean, they're very, very absurd and just all over the place. But back to, I'll go back to the paranormal stuff. Like the experiences I would have would be like, I guess one of the wildest ones I ever had. I was in college. I was sophomore in college, and I was living in this apartment where I had 3 other roommates, but it was summertime and I was the only one there, with the exception of one guy that was living with me. And I was asleep on the couch, and I remember whenever it happens, I wake up, I can't move, but I could see.
Yeah.
It's kind of fuzzy, but I could see there was like one of those old school, like analog clocks. I don't know if it's analog, but it was a digital clock, with the red numbers and stuff. And I could see it in front of the TV. I was like, I see what time it is. Okay. I'm just going to close my eyes. And then I heard somebody close a door in the other room. And every time somebody's around and I know I have sleep paralysis, I freak out because I'm like, I don't want them to see me and then like try to engage with me because I feel like my eyes are open. Maybe they are. I don't know. Nobody's ever been around. But so I started getting scared and like, fuck, I can't move. I try to, because the way I get out of it is sometimes I'll either have an out-of-body experience and then crazy shit happens.
Right.
Like I go through light tunnels and shit, like really, really, insane stuff, or I just wake up. And so at this moment, I was like, I just want to wake up. But then I heard my roommate talking behind me in the kitchen, and that's when I started to come up, and I looked up and nobody was there. And then I went into his room and nobody was there. So it was like shit like that, like very real, like world experiences, like things were changing, and I saw the time on the clock. It was the same as when I was asleep, like, but able to see, if that makes sense. So like it wasn't like a ton of time passed and he was talking to me and left. It was like all within the span of like a few minutes. So nobody was there. I was just hearing noises and stuff.
I wonder if you're like sensing like an imprint,
It could be.
like where his energy at some point, whatever. I mean, because I've had weird experiences too. Like I know what you mean when you say you don't know if you're awake, but you think you see things. Like where is it my mind's eye that recognize? Because that happened to me when I was in sleep paralysis. But I also didn't want to open my eyes because I
can feel my mind's eye when it's happening. Yeah. I don't know if you know it's like up here.
No, there's a pressure.
You feel like a pressure, yeah.
But at first, like thinking about it, it feels like static to me. That's the only way I can tell you. Like when you first start feeling like you're about to go into it.
That's what I was going to say.
That chaos in your, I can't.
To me, so I want to go back to when I was a kid. The first experience that the first profound experience before I knew what was happening, it felt like to me the world was imploding on itself.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's this real bassy, like if you were to plug your ears and go like this, but even deeper than that.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense.
I know what you mean by that.
So that was what would happen, but I was also visualizing like explosion, like of light, and then like when I would come out of my body, it was like the most intense amount of fear that I could possibly feel. It felt like I was dying, and then it was like equivalent of, it's kind of like if you think about an orgasm, how an orgasm builds up, but it feels bad.
Yeah.
So it's like that. So you think about that slow build up, and then boom, that's when I would come out of my body. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know I was coming out. When I was 12 years old, I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Right.
I just thought I was losing my mind. And I would try to talk to my parents about it. I remember after I would come out of it and come back to life, I'd go and tell my parents, and my dad would be like, "What do you want me to do? Take you to the emergency room?" I'm like, "No, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the fuck's happening."
How about the library? Can we look
why
at?
don't you pat me on the back or something, Dad?
It's gonna be okay. You're here now, son. You're
but like it was that, I realized I couldn't talk to anybody about it too. And so then you're dealing with it. But I would find people. It was before the internet, so when you had a fucking problem like that and your parents can't relate, then who are you gonna talk to?
Well, see, I've just recently found out talking to my sister that she too was having those experiences when she was little. Like, I would, the snake game, like the old one.
Oh yeah, first cell phone.
So that's kind of how I felt like in my brain when it started to happen. That static kind of builds up, and then that sound you're feeling. Once I started getting older and I looked into it, it's like you're breaking the astral plane, which is why that light color blasts out or whatever, that prism of color.
Yeah.
But when you're a little kid, I thought I was gonna have to go see the witch and this and that. Like I literally would have this repetitive dream that I was at a tea party with kind of like the Mad Hatter and them, but I knew it was like a witch or whatever, and I would have to go into this maze and I'd have to fight this Cyclops.
Yeah.
I didn't read any of that kind of shit, so I don't know where that came from, but I knew that when I'd have this dream, that eventually that dream led to me being conscious of being asleep and paralyzed, like where I knew I was about to I don't know what it is, but I knew, and then I still get it sometimes, especially if I take naps during the day. I sometimes don't know if I'm grinding my teeth or if it's the actual paralysis where I feel like it's locked up. I can't explain it.
I'm gonna zoom in on your face when you do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't move or anything, but I'm like tight. Like I'm paralyzed.
Yeah.
I'm just paralyzed, and I'm like, all right, bitch, get back in your body. Like, because I feel like that's when I'm like half awake, where I'm coming back in or out.
Yeah.
The astral projecting itself, though, being consciously aware of outside of my body, it's terrifying as fuck. I'm not a fan of it.
I got to the place where I eventually liked it, and back to what you were saying.
I like it when I'm dreaming and I'm in control. The lucid
Once
dreaming.
you learn how to you kind of get used to it happening. But back to what you were saying, how you discovered about like astral projection, like what it was actually was. For me, it was I used to go on like internet forums, like in. Like everyone, I got.
Live journal, baby, live journal.
If you told people in 2005 that you're on like part of a forum, then they'd be like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" Especially where I'm from, like from the deep south.
Right.
I told people I had a profile on ratemyinfo.com. They'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" That was a legitimate site that I was a part of, and it was a small community of people from all around the world that were like contributing to this website. But anyways, that's how I started outsourcing and finding more information, because I would talk about these experiences. And it was when YouTube first came out that I realized I really wasn't alone. Because I used to have people tell me like, "Oh, you need to look into this." And, I learned about astral projection probably in like 2006. But I didn't really get deep dive into it. But once I saw, there was a video around 2008 or so, maybe whenever YouTube came out. But there was this black kid that was probably a few years younger than me. Didn't know him. But he started talking about sleep paralysis and his experience with these yellow-tailed, like neon demons or whatever that were like hovering over him in his sleep. And I had the same fucking description from my own experiences. Like that used to happen to me. And I was like, wait, this guy's explaining literally the exact experience that I've had. So that's when I realized like there's a whole world like out there. But
So what about these neon demon?
Oh, yeah, that was I have so many. Like I said, there's a video on YouTube.
Well, the reason why I asked that
is
is because there was a show, I believe it was called The Nightmare or documentary, and it's based just on sleep paralysis and what these people experience.
Yeah, I think I've seen it.
And some people, the way like you're talking about is they don't even realize they're sleeping, so they feel awake, like they're standing or they're looking in their living room. But they don't realize they're asleep until, or astral projecting until after they wake up back in their body, because this whole time...
You don't know what the fuck's going on,
This whole time, they're thinking they're in reality, because everything looks so real and,
My experiences are kind of, like when it comes to the demons and stuff like that, I've had multiple different... Like it used to be when I was younger, it was almost like... The experience I was talking about where the explosion and the pressure happens, that wasn't like a successful getting through the astral. That was just letting it happen, giving into it. Because I think back then I didn't know what the hell. Just kind of like when you ever have your first orgasm, you don't know what the fuck's going on. So it just happens. You're not aware of it. So it was kind of like the same experience where you just let it happen. But I think once I became aware that could happen, you start feeling like you don't want to disconnect from your body because you're starting to think about it more. And that's where the demons started coming in. Was like it's almost like they were, I don't know if they're real or not, but they were preventing me from letting that happen. They would like get on top of me and like hover over me and scare me.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wouldn't see him. Sometimes I'd just hear him. And I'd also hear voices saying like, he's scared. He doesn't want to, they'd be talking, like making fun of me. Like, I don't want to come to the other side, You
need to watch this thing then.
But this was all before that thing. I was having these experiences like in 2004, like before the internet.
Yeah, before you could find that there was more people out there.
So all these things I talk about on that video, not that I'm trying to get people to watch it. It's not that. It's just, I think when I made that video, I was still having those experiences, but they were starting to die down. So I was like, I got to try to like document everything that's happened.
Right.
And that's probably not everything, obviously, but it's my most memorable experiences.
That's really smart of you though, because I kind of wish I did document, because a lot of the things that were happening to me, I think it was just before I met you guys actually. Like, so 2008 probably 2007, but I was also practicing a lot of meditation. I was practicing to learn how to astral project.
You were already doing meditation like just for relaxation or like?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Well, I used to research.
I didn't start meditating until like 2016 or something.
Well, no, I did it because I also, so when I was 16, I was a practicing Buddhist.
Yeah.
And I learned how to walking meditate first, because I know people don't always believe in your astrological signs, but I am a Gemini, and honestly, I'm kind of neurotic like that in the sense of my brain moves too much, and it could be also chemical shit, like I'm also ADHD, whatever you want to diagnose me. But the walking meditation was very good for me because it brought physicality. I know I felt something out there,
I'm trying to see. Oh, you know what, we're not recording anymore.
Okay.
Shit, we're probably recording audio, so we can keep recording.
Okay.
But the video, I just looked up, I don't know when it stopped, but
that's okay.
We've been going.
I had a feeling. I looked down. I bet you it was when I first looked down, and it was probably about 10 minutes
Well,
ago.
we can still use this for audio.
Yeah.
But
so what I was going to say to you, though, is I was practicing all that because I was I believe I was probably in a spiritual awakening or whatever. Problem is, Ariel was so little. I don't know if you believe in indigo children or anything like that.
I don't know about it. It's not that I don't believe it.
Ariel was just seemed very aware of things that I don't think she should have been. She also kind of prophesied a few things to my friends. Turned out to be true.
Wow.
And she doesn't really remember this stuff kind of when she was little.
I didn't know her that well, but from what I could tell, she was definitely more mature. I don't even know if mature is the right word. She just seemed woke about something.
Everybody.
But I've seen a lot of kids like that. Even my own kids. Not so much now, but when they were younger, it seemed like they were aware of something. I remember, not to steer away too much, but around the time I became really into simulation theory, my daughter said something like, "We're inside a computer." She just said that at 3 years old. We're inside a computer. I was like, "What?" And she's like, "I'm just saying, it feels like we're inside a computer." I was like, well, she didn't know what a computer was.
Well, yeah,
she'd seen me use one.
She didn't understand the concept of what an actual.
She'd never seen the game Sims or anything like that.
Right.
You know what
She
I mean?
didn't understand what actually takes.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. But I don't know anything about. I'm not going to pretend to be a master on what you're talking about. But yeah.
Well, supposedly indigo children are children who are more self-aware, and they're supposed to be brought into this world to help those people evolve their souls and kind of wake up.
Wow.
And you could probably use that into simulation theory in a way, like they're not NPCs basically.
Yeah.
So Ariel, though, like I used to have inception dreams with her. Like, so I would, like, if she popped out of my dream, I would know she was up.
Yeah.
Like, because I would go to sleep when she would sleep. Because I was like, single mom. If this bitch is gonna go to sleep at 1 in the afternoon, I'm gonna take a nap with her.
Yeah.
So I'd go take a nap. But the moment she'd leave my dream, I knew she was getting up, and sure enough, I'd hear her.
That's crazy.
And come knock on my door, come
Yeah.
in or whatever. She'd jump in bed with me, and then she goes, "Mom," and then she'd bring up the dreams. One time, I died in like this volcano, but I wasn't me. I was a man, and I was like, the only thing I could relate it to is like caveman, but it was more indigenous, not like caveman, like Neanderthal. But I was like, I was a human who lived in a cave. I knew that. Like I knew I was, and I was with this woman or whatever, and I believed that we were running from a volcano explosion of some sort. Like the ground was rumbling, the smoke, and we died.
Wow.
From running from the inhalation of smoke. I wake up. I knew in my dream it felt like Ariel, but I don't know. But this is a grown woman in my dream, and I was a dude. And then Ariel, 3 years old, goes, "Mom, it's we died in that fire with the smoke." She mentioned something, and I was like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You don't remember we were running from the smoke?" And I was like, "Oh, this bitch actually remembered this dream."
That's crazy.
So that's why I always think of past life stuff too, because I'm like, I mean, what was that? That must have been a past life of some sort, or something that I can't explain. Why would she have that dream? And we're different people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I joke around. Like I had a dream that I had a whole black family, and
That's crazy.
I knew them, but not in this life, and they were my family. I knew they were my family, and I can never explain that. I look like this, and this is not me virtue signaling to people, because this happened years ago before this was ever an issue with people. I mean, I don't think people were as aware of their privileges or how they maneuvered in the world or thought. I also don't think people do it intentionally to hurt other people, but it's good that the conversation's been had. But anyway, I'm not one of those people who needed to have that conversation.
Yeah.
So this happened years ago. I just think, and also I do think the guy that when I was sleep paralysis, I heard a voice talk to me too.
Yeah.
But I called upon that voice. The difference is I prayed, because I wasn't sure what was happening to me at the time.
I started doing that after, because people were telling me, like, those demons, they want to hurt you, but they can't hurt you if you pray or whatever. So I used to be very religious when I was younger, out of force, Baptist, Southern Baptist or whatever. My parents forced me, and then I stopped around the 3rd grade, but kind of lost all of that, and then I've kind of been in and out of religion, but it does help in those moments when you get scared.
I do. Being spiritual doesn't mean you have to be religious.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I feel like most churches now look like mattress stores, so I stay away from them, because it's like there's a elevate. I don't want to say the church. Well, there's a church close to our, close to where we live, that we drive by every day, and we've been there probably maybe 20 times in the past 3 years, because there's a message. There's a lot of times there's a good message, but when you really look at the state of religion, and it's almost like, back in 20 years ago, a church looked like a church, right? When you think church, if you were to draw a church, it would have, the church, the steeple, right? And so it was masked as this is a church, this is a religious place. But now that it's just like the world's just like laughing at us so much that they're like, we're going to make this look like a fucking mattress store. You're like where you literally walk into it, and like if you look at it and you look at like a mattress store, and then you look at a church now.
No, it does.
It's the big box like retail look. Like it's
even
like
the chairs
we're here
are
to make money. Like, and so the whole thing's a big production, and so it's like they're not even trying to hide it anymore. Anyways, not to steer away too much, but I do still use my own form of religion. I don't even know what to call it. I've been into Buddhism and stuff like that over the past like 3 or 4 years. Really got into that because I see a lot of parallels in Christianity and Buddhism, but Buddhism seems to be a little, I mean, it's older, obviously, I think. I don't know.
It is.
But I mean, the way they talk about time and how everything's a wheel, and, I'm not like super involved, but I grasp the concepts, and they make me a lot more comfortable because, like I was saying earlier, like I struggle with truth when people talk about truth. I can't really like. I've never been able to. I see truths in multiple areas, and so when I really get into Eastern religion, it calms me down a little bit more, like with all of that. So
I think there's a lot of validity to a lot of the Eastern religion practices, like even acupuncture and meditation, chakra cleansing, all that stuff.
Yeah.
My thing is, I would say it's very much a reality, like in the sense, like, and also like, I feel like you can still create your own belief system, whatever that is. Like I said, I said with Scott and the other one, I don't think God or whatever that is, you know, universal knowledge.
It's not a guy in the sky.
Whatever. Yeah. But it's not judgmental like humans. You know, it's not a human.
The one thing about Christianity that I will say that they somehow fucking crushed is time. So when we all talk about time universally, we all talk about BC and
AD and BC.
That's insane. Like the whole world subscribes to that. There's nobody. I mean, now if you go and talk about Eastern religion, they have a different timetable. But is it universally accepted? No.
I think it's definitely called something else besides before Christ or after death. I think there's another. Sorry.
But when you just look at, like I'm talking about, like you look at a computer.
Yeah, but we know that is around the time.
Some, you know, there's different ways to talk about time. Some people talk about the month. We in America, it's like the month first, you know, day second, year last. So you kind of look at the way things are structured in that sense and just communication. But we all think it's year 2022, right?
Yeah, I mean,
what,
that
2022
we're
to what? Like,
yeah, we don't know.
What's zero? That's when
we don't know.
You know.
Well, I mean, now when
but
you have places like Gobekli Tepe or God, I always fuck that name up. Gobekli. Whatever, you guys know.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, but I've been wanting to look it up.
Whatever.
Yeah.
They're thinking that thing is over 70,000 years old, which is technically not supposed to happen because of evolution and everything.
No, I'm not saying whether or not it's true. What I'm saying is the influence that it has over the world is insane.
What I'm saying is, what if that's the biggest conspiracy theories. What I'm saying is this was a city that was purposely buried.
Oh, so I did.
And it's changing the timeline of our evolution as humans when it comes to tools, weapons, civilization.
I remember you guys talking about that.
Metalworks. So here's the thing. Yeah, exactly. So here's the thing. This is basically changing everything we ever thought about humans. So that could change our stances on religion, our whole stance on everything.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is we don't know shit, really.
Sure.
We're assuming stuff. So I was like, don't beat yourself up for whatever. Oh, I didn't even finish telling you, like, the reason why, too, the spirit that, or I think is my angel, when I called for help or what I should do, I heard one word, force, and somehow I knew, like, to force light around me, to force whatever.
Yeah.
I envisioned myself in light, whatever, but it was a black, soulful voice. It wasn't like,
yeah.
That's what I remember I told Jamar that.
Sure.
And so that's why I don't know if maybe I have an affinity, because, you know, I have a lot of black friends I love. I'm very comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not virtue. Like, I realized, like, because I used to think, like, am I one of those white?
Virtue signaling?
Yeah, or whatever. And I was like,
no,
I just actually am very comfortable, and I love people of every race or whatever.
I love black people. Not just be funny, but like I think I've told you this before. Like,
well, you grew up in Tennessee and played basketball.
So it's
culturally you were exposed.
I think yes. I guess I told you. Like I always, even in high school, I was kind of like I saw the racism and experienced it in a way that because I wasn't like the other white people, I didn't go hunting and fishing and wear camo.
Right.
I got picked on, but not really picked on because I'm like, I was 6'2", you know, or, you know, I'm a big guy or whatever. So I was somewhat intimidating physically. Somebody tried to pick a fight with me. However, I knew that I didn't fit in and I wasn't part of the circle. And then, all the black guys, which I never looked at as race back then. It was never really brought to, like, I wasn't like, I'm friends with all the black people, at school. It was just because I was wanting to play basketball and I was like the only white guy on the team at one point, you know.
Yeah, I never,
They were just more welcoming.
Yeah, I never thought about it until I got older and like things my mom would say to me or even my own black friends because they would worry about things that I didn't think about.
Oh, no, yeah.
They would bring things up to my attention and I was like, dude, what do you mean? And they're like, hello, you're with us. And I'm like, You know, and I go, oh shit, that was a privilege. You know, obviously I had that I didn't think about.
I experienced it
to,
firsthand once.
that they had to think about throughout their day, so they knew that it would affect me if I'm with them. And I'm like, fuck, dude, like the fact that they have to worry, my friends have to worry about this. And this is before everybody was talking about being woke. This is it was a long time ago. Yeah, this is 90s everything. Yeah. I mean, I even had a friend recently in California when we were driving, and the police make me nervous. He pulled me over. They make me nervous too. And he goes like this, and I go, hey, I got to reach in my glove box. These are California cops to get my insurance. And he goes, why are you telling me that? Do you have a gun? And I go, no, but you do. And he looked at me and he goes, well, why would I use it? I go, I don't know. Why would you use it? Yeah. Maybe because I reached for something that you don't know what it is, and I'm telling you, you dumb fuck. Yeah. But I realized he was being racial because I was a white woman. So he's like, why would I have to worry about you?
You're white. I don't have to worry. Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, and my friend Jason, it was his first time, he said, in a car that he got pulled over, that the cop didn't ask for his ID. And I said, is this the first time you're in a car? Because most of our friends are black. Yeah. You know which Jason I'm talking about.
The photographer.
Yeah. And
former producer.
Yeah, former producer. What's up, Jason?
Yeah, he hooked me up with a CD of like a bunch of shit back when I moved to Jacksonville. Like,
yeah.
That's how I know him.
He's doing great. I think he's even traveling to Europe now to do his pictures and stuff. So anyway, but he was with me. He's like, you know, that's the first time a cop never asked me for my ID being pulled over.
That's crazy.
And I was like, is this the first time getting pulled over with just a white person? And he goes, oh shit, you're right, it is. And I go, there you go, welcome to America. This is.
I experienced something. Well, it wasn't with the police, but when I was in high school, I was given one of my coworkers, one of my teammates, a ride home after practice. He was black, and we were coming up to what I thought was a 4-way stop, but it was actually a 2-way stop, and then the lane in between was like a nonstop. But I saw a car coming, but I was like, oh, they're gonna stop, and I almost got clipped by him. And it was a Mustang, and I thought it was a friend of mine, but so my friend was in the seat on the seat coming where the car was coming. So I guess they just saw him. Well, they sped up and then blocked the 2-lane road and got in front of me, like basically came and jumped us. But they were beating the shit out of him even more than they like beat me. Eventually, like I got a scar up here from it, but yeah, it was like a wild experience because I was like, why are they hitting him? I'm the one that's driving. So it was kind of like, yeah.
It was intentional. They took their...
He was drunk. Well, he pulled a knife and stuff. It was crazy. I don't want to go into it too much, but this was like 20 years ago. It was like a drunk dude, and they were going after me, but it felt like they were going after him just as much. I'm like, he didn't do anything. Like he was beating the crap out of both of us. He like got inside the car and like started beating the crap out of both of us. And I think I was 16 or 17 at the time. This was like a grown man. Drunk off his ass, and then there were people piling up behind us, not doing anything about it, and just like eventually got off, and I was like, my face was all bloody and stuff. I didn't even have my seatbelt.
Call the cops?
We did eventually, yeah, but they didn't do anything about it because I didn't get like there's no cell phones or anything like that. This is in the middle of nowhere, like in the middle of nowhere, literally in the middle of nowhere on a 2-lane road. Like,
hope the guy got COVID and died.
He's probably dead. Yeah,
hopefully. Okay.
It was funny because it was a small town. It was a yellow Mustang. I used to drive around for like weeks, but maybe months, like looking for him and just trying to confront him and be like, dude, what the fuck, you know? Because I could have beat his ass, but I didn't ever get time. I got knocked out like before I even got out of my seatbelt.
So would you guys just let him jump in your car?
No, I went to go. So it's kind of like
I guess I'm very confused.
I was a little scared, but because he had a knife for one, and then he's drunk. I rolled the window down. He's like, open up your door, and I was like, no, dude, like I'm sorry, it was an accident. You know, nobody got hit. Like he was just pissed, like for whatever reason. I was like, just move your car. And then eventually I was like, all right, dude, I'll get out of the car. And I was like, I guess I'm gonna beat this guy's ass because I was like way bigger than him, and at that time in great shape. So I was like, I could take him. So I told him to put his knife away, and I said, I'll get out. So he went to put it in his truck or his car or whatever, and came back. And then I started getting out. I had the door open the whole time. He came around, and I was like reaching for my door, like my seatbelt. And at that time, he came in and started knocking the shit out of me, like kicked me and knocked me out. And then I kind of came to a little bit, and I saw him beating the crap out of my friend. And my friend got out of the car, and then eventually somebody pulled him off. But yeah, nobody did anything about it. Like I got home, and then the sheriff came to my house and interviewed me and said, we'll be in touch, and nothing happened. So small town. Yeah, but that's when I realized like I guess the question in my head was like, why are they doing anything to him? He didn't do anything. Like, if anything, they should take it out on me. But I think the whole reason he was angry is because he saw a black guy.
Yeah,
and I look
he was
back
just,
at it.
yeah, probably just like,
I only looked at it like that in hindsight because obviously I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I was stupid, young and scared.
I just hate people, man. Listen, I judge you way more for your character than the color you are. I'll tell you that right off the bat.
Sure.
Like, personally, I mean, I really don't give a fuck what other people do. I mean, I don't like Nazis or racist people, but
I don't like extremists on the
yeah,
inside,
if anything, yeah, that's the worst.
And it's not that I don't like them; it's that I just can't tolerate them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't really form a feeling about anybody because it's a waste of energy to me. Like if I like I say, like I talk about everything in energy. Like I'm not gonna sit here and like if somebody's like Trump, you know, like why I never understood why people hated Trump so much is because obviously I'm a white guy, so I don't get offended by the things that he says because he never talks about white guys, or he maybe talk about poor people. I don't know, but I see these people, and I think I've had this discussion with you where I get so frustrated about how people get so they invest their whole lives into like this person.
Yeah.
And so they're so focused on. It felt like the whole world was just like watching him so closely, intently. It was in our art. It was in everything. It was just everywhere that you're just giving him power.
Yeah.
And so whenever somebody does something that I don't like and don't agree, like I might find a way to like make a creative sketch or something to express that feeling, but I don't let it control me. Like,
right.
And that's what I was saying earlier is like this whole COVID thing is all like about mind control, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the viruses are real.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm not speculating, but when I look at the real damage to humanity is that we are all becoming incapable of thinking for ourselves. And that's the big fear I have when it comes to like what somebody says, or if I disagree with them. I mean, maybe that's a weak stance on it, but to me, it's all about like I don't have the energy to fight.
So here's the thing, like I recently when I told you like that my job is gonna have like no more masks or whatever.
Yeah.
Now they're not allowed. Like the head corporate area knows whether we're vaccinated or unvaccinated. Of course, some of them know because they talk about it. But technically, the managers themselves can't even really ask us, I guess. And,
yeah.
Which I'm
in
fine
Florida,
with.
yeah. So in Florida, I think maybe.
And they were, but first before that happened, she asked me, and I was like, I'm not. She goes, you're not like that, like, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I go, I have autoimmune stuff, but the fact that I even have to mention that is a problem.
That was always my issue.
Yeah, I was like, this is a HIPAA issue, and then they're like, you're right, and I'm like, I know.
Wow,
I'm
they actually
fucking,
said you're right. Wow.
Yeah, but they're not going to say that to corporate. They just said it to me. They're just managers in some bullshit store. Anyway, but I was talking to my manager of the store, and I go, so no masks on Monday, huh? And he goes, yeah, well, you know, I mean, the CDC is saying, and I go, oh, you're one of those people. I go, yeah, you know what's funny is the CDC takes their direction from the WHO, and the WHO for months has been saying that the masks were not working.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me and I go, yeah, I mean, that's the normal thing. And I go, so I'm not surprised, actually. I was anticipating it. And he goes, oh, okay. I think he thought I was going to be on team mask.
Sure.
And I'm not on team no mask. I'm just on like team live your life mask. You know, like if you want to wear a mask because you're afraid, that's on you. Yeah, we could get going.
No, you're fine. Let me take this.